All right. So excited. I almost forgot to record, but we're in record mode. And, guys, I got to take a minute. We teach edification in most sales industries anyway, but I have to say this is a tremendous honor for me tonight. Mr. Ray Higdon came into my life at a time when I really needed him. Man, I was ready to play big. I was ready to go to the next level. I had come through a season of time where I had people that I was counting on that only chose to see me one way, and they could not see my desire to grow into greatness in my calling in other ways. And so I had to sever a lot of relationships. It was difficult to do. It cost me a lot of social equity, and it cost me a tremendous amount of money. But I purposefully cut those ties, even with that loss, so that I could advance. And I prayed, and I needed somebody. And it was the craziest thing because I did not know who Mr. Ray Higdon was. And we were actually at the event somewhere, and one of the guys on my team was like, somebody mentioned Ray Higdon, and one of the guys was like, "Oh man, Ray Higdon's amazing. He's like the best coach on the internet right now." And it didn't really.
I think that was me in disguise.
I think it was.
In disguise. I was wearing a hat.
And,
that guy's amazing.
It was kind of crazy because some of you guys know that I have a business partner named Mr. Brandon. We own a company called Boxterra.com. And Brandon reached out to Ray about us going down to do a VIP day, and we invested the time and the money. And literally within 10 minutes, I could have closed my book and gone home because we had a nugget already. I knew it was going to take some digging to act on that nugget, but I already had a big enough nugget that I knew that we could go home and we could change a failing business and turn it around. By the way, Ray, thank you. October is the biggest month we've ever had with Boxterra. It's like the first month of we're finally turning the stern of the boat around, and it's been really exciting. And so he is in my opinion, a man of among men. He's an entrepreneur that stands head and shoulders among other entrepreneurs. Last year, he had his first $1 million year. I think it was May was your first $1 million month. Was it May or June?
Yeah, 2013 was our first $1 million year, and then we had $2 million months this year.
And had $1 million weekend here just not too long ago. And so it's awesome to see his trajectory, man. And I want you to grab, I want you guys tonight with me to grab a hold of his coattails. Get out your notepad. Don't just sit here and expect that you're going to watch the replay. I want you to watch the replay again many times. But take active notes while you're soaking it in, man. And Ray, I just want to say what an honor it is, a privilege. Thank you for everything you've imparted into my life, everything that you meant to me. I'm forever grateful. I look for a long relationship between coach and mentor, and just excited to be a part of your mastermind. And these are my masterminders. I put them into your hands. They're awesome people. These are great people, man, that really want to grow. And so I'm going to mute out and turn the floor over to you, my friend.
Awesome, man. I mean, just so cool to hear you. And I thought this was like an interview thing, so I don't have anything prepared, but I can chat on about anything you'd like me to.
They have questions prepared for you, but I definitely want you to say some opening words.
Yeah, and so I don't know how much Nate has shared, but I'll share a little bit about my story, and I'll try to share it in a way just in case he has shared. So I'm someone that I've always wanted to be good at whatever I did. I want to be the best at whatever I've done, whether it's in corporate America or anything. And I had worked my way up corporate America to a pretty good salary. I was my last job was actually 10 years ago this year. So I've been a full-time entrepreneur for 10 years now, a decade. And, I'd worked my way up to about an $80,000 a year salary, which for someone who failed English in high school and took 5 years to finish high school, that's not too bad. And I never finished college. And, I'd worked my way up, but the problem was I noticed that the more I made, the more they demanded of me. And the more weekends I had to show up, the more games I had to miss. I was spending more time with pictures of my kids than the real thing. I have two boys, 17 and 16, and I now have a baby girl who is 3 weeks old as of Friday. She's amazing. And, but I was spending more time with pictures of my kids than the real thing. And I saw my boss, I saw his boss, I saw her boss. I didn't want any of their jobs because they were all stressed out, more stressed out than me. I saw my life as being in one of their positions, and they weren't happy, I mean, period. They had failing, marriages. They had stress. It just wasn't good. It wasn't a great picture. And so I decided to go out, and I went into the world of real estate because I had a lot of friends that were doing real estate here in the state of Florida. And that worked until it didn't. And, when the market changed and I didn't know how to adapt, I got my butt kicked. I lost everything that I had, ended up in personal foreclosure. And in 2009, a friend of mine invited me to a home meeting. I got serious about a network marketing company and became the #1 income earner in that company, using a combination of traditional and old school and internet marketing. And since then, we've grown a coaching and training business because a lot of leaders in other companies have come to us and asked us to either train their teams or train them on everything from branding to lead generation to mindset, etc. And so, without really intending to, we've built multiple 7-figure business in the coaching and training business. And we have some really, really awesome clients, including Nate. And so that's kind of the gist of the story. There's, a lot of details in there, of course. And, whatever questions that you guys have, I'm certainly more than happy to give them my best shot.
Awesome. We're going to start with Misha because she's actually driving. I told her I'd let her go first and she can't see us. And
okay.
Misha, you are.
It doesn't look like any of them are driving.
Misha's the frozen picture there. So.
I don't see any.
All right, Misha, can you hear us?
Yeah.
I
Can you
see.
hear me?
Yeah, we've got you. Go ahead with your question.
All right, Ray. Congratulations on your new baby girl.
Thank you.
I've been following you guys on Facebook for a while.
You're breaking up. I'm not hearing you.
We're losing you, Misha. We'll try to come back to you when you maybe get into some better signals. So let's do this. Let's go to the top left of my screen to Miss Corinne.
Oh, I got to go first?
You got to go first, honey.
Oh, gosh.
Corinne is all the way from the island of Kauai, out in Hawaii.
Love Kauai. That's still my favorite island.
A little while, the way things work out, for sure. My question is...
Can you hear me?
We lost her.
Interesting.
All right, go ahead, Corinne. We'll go with you.
Okay. Being that I'm on Kauai, and there's only like 60,000 people. Yes, and congratulations on your baby, too. She's adorable.
Thank you.
And I have branded myself as a boutique owner, and I also do a network marketing. People on Kauai, they have a different mindset. And they were, in my previous company, it ran rapid through the islands. And ever since then, everybody got disenchanted. So now it's really hard to give this opportunity and share it with people because they're just like, I don't want to hear that. And I'm trying to figure out how I can present myself or I don't change their mindset, or I'm in a dilemma. I don't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So a couple things. 3 kind of come to mind. First, for you to change anything, you have to first change the way you define and describe it. And as long as, like if I say to myself, man, every time I drive to Naples, I catch all the red lights. I'm going to manifest that, and that is going to happen. Right. And it never will. I will hit them magically somehow, some way, every single time. And so when you say, people around these parts are this particular way, you're forced. Your energy is forced to seek and fulfill that manifestation.
I understand.
And so you literally it'll never happen where you say, people around here just aren't very open, and all of a sudden you meet someone open, you'll be like, what? It'll actually never happen. You have to fulfill that manifestation. So your you're projecting, and it'll always boomerang back to you. So your beliefs are like a boomerang. If you believe that money comes easily and frequently, you're going to magically have things happen to you. You know, like we really practice, you know, gratitude and just thinking that great things are on their way to us, and magical things happen all the time. You know, I was just on a call, right? That's why I was a couple minutes late. I was just on an interview before this, and this, you know, big, you know, pretty large company owner, I think it's a 10 million a year company, reached out to me and wants to partner in with one of my products. We have that kind of stuff happen all the time. And these people come from all over, people from Malaysia, Australia, Texas, that want to partner with me on different things. And it just happens. And part of that is because of my language, and that I am expecting those things, but I'm never addicted to the expectations. So first thing would be change the way you define and describe it. So, you know, and one question, this will be an interesting reaction for you. One question for you is, if you think that I came to Kauai, do you think I could build a team?
No doubt you could.
See, so that means it's not the people, that it's within you. So you can become the leader that people want to follow. If someone can do that, you can do that. And most people have some kind of data or intelligence or you know, collective wisdom that says their area is harder than other areas. It's very rare that I meet someone that says, you know, I'm in Miami and everyone's open. You know, it's like everyone I talk to, for some reason, their area is tough because of this or that or this or that, the weather or the marketplace or the, you know, whatever, right? Mm-hmm. So that'd be number one. Change the way you define and describe it. Okay. Number two, embrace the power that you can. You know, my wife at the age of 21 built a $10,000 a month income 100% on social media through people she did not know. Okay. Now, some people at 21, in fact, every week, someone that's, you know, 21 or younger reaches out to me and says, you know, I really want to build a business, but I'm so young. See, they have beliefs too. They have beliefs.
Oh, I got the opposite. I feel I'm old.
Yeah. Well, actually, I have a Hawaiian story for you.
Okay.
I'll tell you here in a second. But embrace the fact that you can use the internet to prospect and recruit. And, you know, Jess, my wife, she was recruiting. She went after purposely financial planners, insurance salespeople, and things like that. People that you would think would never listen to a 21-year-old. She just didn't have that belief. So it wasn't her reality. And so I would embrace the fact that you can recruit people from, you know, from other areas. And then lastly, I would say, also embrace the fact that, you know, Kauai gets a lot of tourists, and you know, there are things that you can do to connect with tourists there. And the reason I like that strategy is the type, you know, Kauai isn't, you know, Salt Lake City, right? I mean, I like Salt Lake City, but it's not Salt Lake City. Like people, you know, it's a little bit more money to make it to Kauai. So the quality of tourists that you get is higher than many areas in the country. Mm-hmm. So I always prefer to recruit people who are higher end because they're typically socially connected better. Right. And so those would be my initial kind of three things for you. Interestingly enough, in my last network marketing company, we recruited this lady in Oahu that was 78 years old that put in 6 people her first week. And
right on.
All she was doing is she was reaching out to people. I wish I remembered her name. It was a very unique name. I'm not going to remember it, but we had a pretty big team. I've never had a team that I'm aware of in Kauai, but we had a pretty big team in Oahu. But anyway, that's another thing, man. You know, like I was very blessed 2 weeks ago to share the stage with Tony Robbins, Robert Kiyosaki, and Bob Proctor. Bob Proctor is 81 years old. Let me tell you, that guy rocked that stage. He rocked it like nobody's business. And so age. It's just, how do we act versus how old does the calendar say that we are?
Right.
Those would be my suggestions to you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Is that helpful?
Yes, it is.
Cool.
I have a new perspective now.
Good. I mean, I think the biggest thing was when I said, "Hey, if I came out there, you think I could do it?" You got it right away. You're like,
yeah.
So that means it's not about the people. It's how we show up to the people. It's how we see the people. So you can have that power too.
Okay.
And just, take some work and keep going on the, trajectory that you're on.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Aloha, Corinne.
Yeah. Aloha.
Fantastic. Let's just check on Misha. Hey, Misha, do we have you back?
Or maybe Misha can email you the question or something, or text you or something. Just a thought.
Yeah, not a bad idea. All right. Well, she muted herself back in. Let's go down to this is Martin Sutton, right, all the way from Bulgaria.
Whoa.
So it's like 3 o'clock in the morning for him right now.
Whoa.
And he's over there in the Cincinnati sweatshirt there. So I'll turn it over to Martin.
Yeah, I'm a Cincinnati guy in Bulgaria.
Were you born in Cincinnati?
Yes.
My wife's from Chagrin Falls, outside of Cleveland.
Okay, I was just there last time I was in America. I've got a friend
Chagrin Falls?
Well, I drove right through Chagrin Falls. I went down that Chagrin Boulevard.
Yeah.
A friend of mine lives in something Heights. Can't think of it right now.
Yeah, I don't know.
Shaker Heights. He lives
Shaker
in
Heights. Yeah, I've heard of that. Yeah.
So, but I'm from the other corner, opposite corner, Cincinnati. But for my question, I have a nonprofit. I'm a missionary here, and we're actually building a children's village, family-style children's homes. And I was just wondering, what is the best way or ways to encourage people to give to it's a good cause. I believe everybody believes it's a good cause, but to try to get people to see the vision enough to want to give to the vision.
Yeah. Great question. Cool. So I'll give you two things here. Something that I learned from Tony Robbins actually is if you look at what most people see as limitations or what is preventing them from a goal, almost everyone will say it is tied to resources. So it's lack of money, lack of time, lack of people in front of the presentation, lack of following, lack of audience, lack of marketing. It's usually some kind of absence of resources or not a great area or whatever. It's some kind of resource issue. And he suggests, and I just love it. He says that we're never at a loss for resources. We're at a loss for resourcefulness. That's very, very different. And so the two suggestions that I would have, based on what I know here, is one, think about how can you be more resourceful in building the value of how to grow your vision there. So that might entail how can you bring the people that already believe in the vision, and how can you get them to possibly help you broaden the reach of what you're doing. It could be that you do something unique where you're helping them expand their reach and they're helping you do the same. It could be some kind of networking get-togethers where you have them invite their people, their audiences, etc., and you get in front of them. So there's something there with how can we be resourceful with the people that already believe? Because I assume there's some people that have given.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So a lot of times, I read probably one of the best business books I've ever read, and it's more about corporate business, is Straight from the Gut by Jack Welch. And Jack Welch talks about how when he took over GE and he ran GE for however many years, a couple decades or something, he talks about how you don't want to just have employees muscle. You want to have their mind. And so I would suggest that as a charity to think that you don't just want their money, you also want their mind. You want them to help you think about how to get the word out. Like if I'm donating to a charity, do I want that charity to be successful? Of course, because it solidifies my decision to donate to it. You see what I mean? So it kind of, I have, not only am I willing to give, if I do give to a charity, not only am I willing to give to that charity, but that's also saying, I want to see this succeed. That's what I'm really saying. And so you have the mind power, I'm willing to bet, of some people that have donated that we haven't tapped into yet, that we can tap into and say, hey, how can we get in front of more people? And all of a sudden, maybe you do a little mini mastermind where you say, hey, I'd love to do a breakfast mastermind and bring your top, donators together, and where you just spitball ideas. And that's where magic really happens. The second part of my suggestion would be all about value. And this is something I've actually done trainings for charities about value. Most charities, and I don't suspect you're this way, but most charities operate out of guilt. Hey, you're really rich. You should give some money to, this charity, right? And that's the indicator for me that I will not donate. So if a charity uses guilt and that's their only approach, I won't give to that charity because I don't believe in that approach. I don't like it. So I'm always teaching charities that how can you add more value? So maybe it's you find a good videographer that is willing to film you guys for
a good what?
A videographer, someone that shoots videos.
Okay.
So maybe it's you locate a good videographer that is going to give you their very best price, or they're going to trade with you on that. You're going to put their name at the bottom of all these epic videos of these kids' lives being changed, or however your charity is impacting people. Well, as you start to get that viral message out, you can drive them back to a website that, or even a Facebook page or a YouTube channel that lists out your different donators. Okay, now they're getting exposure. That's value. Okay, so there are ways you want to think of two things. One, how can I get more resourceful with my existing donators, and then also how can I bring them more value? How do I make them even happier? And when you combine those two forces, you're going to locate more people that will also want that value and will snap in with that vision. Okay.
Well, thank you. That's
helpful.
It is, because I hate the manipulative guilt kind of. Yeah. I don't do that, and yet I'm thinking maybe I should make it sound a lot sadder. I mean, it's orphans. It's sad they have a lot of things that just goes without saying. You don't have to shamelessly throw that at people, but that's a good idea. Actually,
you do have to make people aware, and that's what the videographer's job is. The videographer's job is to do what any great charity video does, which is raise awareness and then showcase the solution. Okay, so you raise awareness of how bad it is for them, how tough it is, how people there's a lot of need for help there, and then our solution. You showcase the solution of how we've helped people. So you have the harsh reality to raise awareness, right? And that's how all charities are born. You got to raise awareness. People aren't just not aware. You got to raise it somehow, and you do it emotionally. But then you also showcase a solution. You actually interview some of these, the orphans that have been impacted by what you are doing.
Okay. Well, actually, we're doing that at the end of the month.
Great.
We've got some, so that's good. I'm glad. Actually, it's one of my sponsors that has put me in touch with their Pulitzer-winning prize photojournalist sister to come and do something here. So that's I was like, wow, that's a real great thing that dropped in my lap. But I can look for that.
So I'll give you one more tip here. So I would look at I would look at all the characteristics of your mission. All right. Mm-hmm. So I believe it's in Bulgaria. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So I would look at what famous celebrities or social media stars or best-selling authors have some kind of connection to Bulgaria. And I would make a list. My goal would be 100, to have a list of 100 people that have some connection, that are very influential, that have large followings, that have some kind of connection to Bulgaria or some kind of connection to being an orphan. Okay, so you could actually probably make 2 lists of 100 out of that. But you look for influential people, and you just approach them and you say, "Hey, I'm a big fan of your work. I know you probably get a lot of communication. I'm doing an orphan thing in Bulgaria. If you have 5 minutes of your day, I would love no obligation. I'd love to get on the phone with you and chat with you. I'd love to connect with you. Maybe you could point me in the right direction to help me make a bigger impact in Bulgaria, or a bigger impact with orphans in Bulgaria."
Okay. Well, thanks so much. That's great.
You're welcome.
All right. God bless you.
Bless you.
Incredible, man. You never cease to amaze me, Mr. Higdon. Pull stuff like out of the stratosphere, man. Wow. That's awesome. So Misha texted me, and her question was, how does she help people on her network marketing team who don't really have a lot of good social influence, whether it's on social media or just in life in general? They don't have a lot of social equity, basically.
Yeah. So there's a few things. One, you need to encourage the long-term vision of being in network marketing. That's kind of a basic strategy there. But you do need to do that. Number 2, you need to locate people who are now successful, who started off in that same category. Like, one of my, we do conference calls for our team, and one of our most successful ones, or most popular, I should say, you would think that, I've interviewed guys that have recruited, I think lately, a couple months ago, we interviewed a guy that recruited 28 people in like 10 days, right? So, that's cool. That's hot, right? Not one of our most popular. One of our most popular was a friend of mine who, when she started with network marketing, she was so nervous to call people that she knew. She would take 2 shots of vodka before she would make a call. Like she was literally, she would be shaking. And she told me, she goes, "I think I need to take a shot." I'm like, "Well, take a shot." And she goes, "I think I need another one." And she's now, I don't know what she's at now, but that month she'd recruited 5. See, that's the stories that your team needs to be hearing. Your team needs to be hearing that there are other people with the same afflictions that were able to push through anyway. And what they don't need to hear more of is what most companies actually highlight, which is the razzle-dazzle. They hit director in 4 days, and they hit this in 9 hours, and they hit the car in 4 minutes, and all of that stuff actually discourages them. So what you need to do is you need to locate the people that also started with those afflictions, that started with those tough, upbringings or background or whatever, and you need to bring them on to let them see that real people can make this thing happen. People that haven't had advantages in their past can still make this happen. Because let me tell you, there's a million of them out there. One of my favorites, and I use this all the time, I saw it 2 years ago now. This guy crosses stage, and he hit a level in the company, and is, I believe, close to $100,000 a year. He gave his acceptance speech in sign language because he was born deaf. Now, if you've ever had a prospecting call, well, he hasn't. You ever heard some rejection? Well, he hasn't. Okay. So that's when you know anything is possible. And so, the two suggestions: one, locate people who have the same issues or similar issues and highlight them. And let me tell you, you don't have to do not have conference calls for your team that are rank based. Big mistake. A lot of people, they're like, well, once you hit, marketing director, then you can be on our team call. Don't do that. You need to look for success stories. You need to look for people that are having success now and find out their story. And the bigger struggle they came from, the better. So it might be someone one time we had a lady on who'd been in the business for 2 years and finally got her first recruit. That's a huge win. People need to realize that. Some people are like, 2 years, a first recruit. Let me tell you, 80% of the team was like, oh my God, there's hope. Wow, there's hope. That is awesome. You got to look for that. The second thing is get them to events. When you get them to company events, they're going to see some of the stories that I share with you. The person crossing the stage, giving an acceptance speech in sign language. They're going to see those things and say, holy crap, if they can do it, I can do it. And that's the whole point of this business is, letting people realize that if, anybody can do this business and you never fail, you either succeed or you quit. And that's the reality. So no matter where you came from, you either succeed or you quit too early. And that's just the deal. You got to help them realize that.
So she had at least 10 shots of tequila if she closed 5. So we know that was the minimum line.
Yeah. Ray told me to do tequila.
The tequilarecruiter.com.
Thank you, Ray. That was really helpful.
Awesome. My pleasure.
Awesome. Glad you were able to hear, Misha. That's cool. We'll go right here to the middle of the screen to Mary up in North Carolina. Mary, your question to Mr. Ray Higdon.
Hello. It's great to be here tonight with you. And Nate already so much with this mindset and just getting over a lot of stuff that I blog, and most of my recruiting is done online. And I have a blog for moms. And I find that a lot of my follow-up is just lacking. That's where it seems to be. The recruiting's good, and but what you just said about the team training helped so much, because our company is, only pushing, I guess, like most network marketers, only just pushing those who have just gone from the bottom to the top in less than a year. And it's just discouraging for most of us moms who are just trying to pay for things. So That helped a lot on the training aspect. And I know this is probably just a mindset or just a system, just really coming up with some systems to help me just have consistency with following up and something to create for our team, because our upline has done everything the traditional way. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of, we're stepping out in new territory too. So
yeah. Okay. So couple things there. When you say follow up, you mean with prospects or you mean
just
with
already new members? And when people join us that have already signed up. So we have the Facebook groups, we have the learning for that and for the business, and people join ours. I don't know how most network companies are, but product users, or it's the same way. Product users or business builders. We don't have them like, okay, I'm going to build the business, or I'm just going to use the product. And most of my moms and then they become the business builders after they've experienced the product. So, and I know this is just such a basic thing, but
it's not. Okay, so but you are specifically talking about following up with people who have joined.
Yeah.
Like as a customer, business builder.
Right, after they've already got their kit, they're started.
All right, so you want, all right, I'm trying to think your different questions. All right.
Sorry.
So as far as the startup, I would, and I've had, believe me, I mean, I've had in the last 2 years, 3 years, in the last 3 years, I've helped 4 different $1 million a year earners create their fast start system. So this is not, you may think that it's unique to you. It's not unique. Most people have no idea how to start their new people. One thought is you want to think to yourself, if you want to have a system that does 2 things. One, if you recruit 20 people tomorrow, it will actually work. And number 2, if you had a team of 100,000 people, it would still hold up to that test. And so my suggestion would be to have some kind of fast start training video that is, length has varied. It could be, depending on the complexity of what you guys do, it could be 15 minutes, it could be an hour, right? But have a fast start video that covers how to utilize your system and answers the commonly asked questions. Now there'll be an additional thing with you specifically based on what you said. So commonly asked questions. If you've answered the same question 1 million times when you're recruiting people, you need to stop answering it. And you need to put it in a video that you can refer people to and teach them to teach their people to use. And so there's a phrase out there, teach to teach so you can go to the beach. You want to teach them how to get their answers, but also teach them in a multidimensional way so that they tell their reps to find their answers over there too. So your typical network marketer will, if they get a call from their teammate, they'll spend 45 minutes just chatting with them and telling them all the details of where to find it in the back office. And it's not duplicatable. It's not recorded. If they recruit someone, they don't even remember what you said. It's just a waste of time, and it's hurting you. And you can never have 100,000 people in a team with that kind of approach, with what we call the mother hen approach. So you have to use a system. So if someone asks me, well, Ray, how do I run a home meeting? I say, well, there's a video for that. Go watch that. And if anyone ever asks you how to run a home meeting, point them to that same resource. Now, how long did that take me? A second, literally seconds, right? Because that's more of a system. And you teach people where they can get their questions answered and all that jazz. Now, the thing that I was going to add in for you is people stay where they feel good. And in prior network marketing companies, I was a pit bull, and if you weren't prospecting every day, you're like, what's wrong with you? I'm a demon, right? Everyone had to be prospecting lots and lots of people. Well, the problem with that is not everyone wants to. And in your situation, some people may be customers, some people may be business builders. You want to make everyone feel good. So in this fast start training, you want to say, by the way, if you're watching this and you just want to be a customer, we love you. It's amazing. It's so awesome. If you ever want to tell people about it, we'll more than welcome you with open arms on how to be a business builder. But we love you, customers. You want to make it very clear that they're not a disappointment, or else they will stop being customers. Very important fact. Mm-hmm. So you do that thing, and I would for people that I bring on, I send them through a fast start training, and I tell them, let me know when you're finished with that training. They'll let me know, and I'll do a call with them. And I'll say, okay, based on the training, what would you like to do? What are your goals? What are you hoping to do? You want to be a customer and just use the product, or are you wanting to build it, or what exactly do you want? And I'll pay attention to what they ask me. If they ask me questions that I know are covered in the fast start, I will constantly refer back to that fast start because I'm teaching them. Okay. So if they say, well, how do I order stuff? If I wanted another one, I'd say, well, that was actually in the fast start training. I would suggest going back through it. You probably missed it. No big deal. If they ask me a few of those, I'm going to come back to them and say, yeah, it'd probably be a good idea for you to re-review the fast start training. I think that would really help you out, and it would help out anyone that you ever bring on. And I'll tell you an important lesson that I learned in regards to that, because it's more likely for us to just, I'll just answer it for you, right? Mm-hmm. You're creating a culture.
Right.
Now they've pulled the seams away at your system, and now they know that they don't have to listen to any of your training. They can just come to you because you're so soft, and they can just push you over. Well, let me tell you about a story that I heard that I have verified is true. There's a guy, I'm not going to say his name, but there's a guy that does millions and millions a year in network marketing. And he ran a training, and he told his team, he said, I want you to bring two number 2 pencils, and I want you to bring a spiral bound notebook. Okay, that was it. Show up to the train. It's a Saturday. 2 number 2 pencils, spiral bound notebook. Okay, so people are coming in. He's at the door. He's letting people in. This guy comes in. He's got a pen, 1 pen, and a book, not spiral bound. He said, "What's this?" He says, "Oh, what do you mean? It's, this is how I take notes. I use this book." And he goes, "Get out. You can't attend this training." He goes, "You can attend the next one. It'll be in 6 weeks." And the guy was like, what are you talking about? He goes, "You clearly you can't follow directions. This is for my team that can follow directions. This training is not for you. You can come back if you want, if you stick around, if you make it, you can come back in 6 weeks." Now, to most people, you're thinking, what a bastard, what a terrible human being. But boy, did he get the lesson across. To listen, and this is why people aren't successful, is they take advice and they kind of mix in their own little ingredients. They throw in a dash of parsley, cilantro in there. They throw in their own ingredients and they say, well, this should work. Well, it doesn't. Someone that's made millions and millions and millions of dollars, and he makes it every year, has told you exact instructions and you didn't follow them. So this is why I take the system very seriously. So if someone's asking me questions that were covered in that fast start, that's going to lead me to believe they either weren't paying attention or they never even watched it. And they're trying to get around the system. And if they try to get around the system, I know that isn't going to happen. It's not going to work for them. And so, I listen to them, and I'm always, paying attention to what is it that they actually want. If they just want to be a customer, awesome, we love you. You don't have to do much. Just use the product, enjoy it. It's amazing. If you ever do want to talk to people about it and start a business, we'll show you how to do that. So those would be my suggestions. I'm trying to remember. Let's see, you said online. I'm going to help you out with something, and I may not need to or not, but a lot of people are usually up on something or down on something. They're usually not in the middle, right? So if someone either really likes traditional network marketing or they don't like it at all, my suggestion would be never be one to bash the other. And, and I'll tell you my experience with that. In my last company where we were the number 1 income earners, I brought in this group of internet marketers that were hardcore lead generation. They had their own system that they sold, and they were hardcore internet guys. And they would bring me on to speak to their team, but they would tell me, hey, don't mention any of that home meeting stuff. Don't mention any of that other stuff. And I'm like, all right, that's fine. And I told them, I'm like, it's cool what you're doing, and you're having some duplication, and they had a few thousand people on their team. But I said, there's some people in your audience, I guarantee you, that would be willing to do some offline stuff if you embraced it. And the problem is when they come to the company events, the company is not talking about your system. The company's talking about, standard stuff. And so what I've noticed is a lot of internet marketers bash old school. And I'll tell you, most internet marketers have not actually created success in network marketing. The 2 reasons I never did bash old school is, one, I mean, it worked for 40 years. Come on, it's got to have some merit there. But number 2, when you bash old school, and I'm not saying you probably don't even bash it at all. I'm just throwing this out there. But when you bash old school, you actually turn off every single network marketing leader on planet Earth. Every leader hates your guts now. And I think one of the reasons that Eric Worre supported us on 2 different product launches. He had me speak on a stage, 2 weeks ago. And Robert Hollis hired me, Matt Morris has hired me. There's a lot of people that have hired me along the years. And I think a big part of that is that I never did bash old school, traditional, or anything like that. So even with online magicry, if you create a training for your team, tell them, hey guys, you may be watching this and maybe you're awesome at traditional and home meetings and everything. That's awesome. That stuff works. Okay. We're also going to teach you some online stuff too. So that would just be my suggestion for a long-term thriving career there.
Okay. Thank you so much. That's very helpful. So
awesome.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Mary's an absolute rock star. She's got a great blog. You'd be proud of her blog. Good. Awesome.
Cool.
All right. Let's swing up into the top right there to David and Sharon Miller up in Standish, Michigan. You guys have the floor.
Hey.
Good to have you join us. My question is, my own personal growth, I find myself challenged on my mindsets of
Hard to hear you, man.
Okay. Growing my mindset from things in the past, and I start to grow out, like change my mindset about different things. I find myself slipping back, kind of like almost like crab in the bowl. I'm getting to the top and I kind of slip back. How's good recommendations for you to just change our mindsets, get a mindset to kind of just move forward and not get stuck in the old ways?
Yeah. I mean, that's something that a lot of people struggle with. I mean, very similar to the first advice I gave. The way you describe and define things is the way they will show up for you. So if you're saying that I keep getting pulled back into the past, then you will. So my first suggestion would be change the way you describe and define in your experience. And that doesn't, just to clarify, that doesn't mean that you lie. That doesn't mean that I'm so grateful I'm a billionaire, because you won't believe it. And it's the feeling that you have versus the words that you say. Now, the words that you say can usually impact your feelings, but it's the feeling that you have. So if you create one of I'm full of crap, then you're not going to believe it. It's not going to make it any difference. But you can say things like I'm getting better and better. Bob Proctor says that you don't learn something until you actually create a new result. Now, that's very interesting. And if people adhered to that, there's a lot of people that haven't learned anything in a really long time, right? See, we traditionally think of learning as I gathered a new piece of data. Now I've learned something. Bob Proctor says that's not the case. He says you haven't learned anything until you've been able to take data and create a new result with it. And so it's just a little different there. I'll tell you what helped me. For about a year, I was in a mental, spiritual, financial coma when I lost it all in real estate, because, prior to that, I had success in whatever I'd gone into. When I went my way, when I went after, sales, I did really well in sales. When I went after, the computer industry and IT, I did really well. I climbed up the ranks. I, got into positions that required, bachelor's degrees, and I didn't have any, but I got them because of my work ethic, because of being smart and everything, so forth. Well, I was really challenged when I lost everything in real estate, because like most men, I equate, I don't know if this is still the case, but there's got to be some of it there. A lot of men equate their self-worth with their net worth. And, if you're not making money, if you're not making ends meet, like for example, at the time, my girlfriend was paying my utility bills while she went to college full-time and was working at the Nordstrom makeup counter. That's Jessica, who's now fortunately my wife. And I went through about a year of me just saying, what was wrong with me? What happened? I used to be good. Now I'm not. I used to be charismatic. Then I lost it. And I stayed in that funk for about a year. And, knowing me, that's like an eternity for me to be in that a year. That's like an eternity, man. That's like forever. And, I look at what we've accomplished, over the last 12 months. It's an eternity to be in that kind of funk for that long. And I know some people maybe have been in funks for longer than that. I created a psychological trigger that said, anytime I thought about how crappy life was, I picked up the phone. Anytime. And so there would be times where I would think about, man, it used to be great. And I would literally pick up my phone and just scroll, boom, and call whoever my finger landed on. Sometimes it's the dry cleaner. Sometimes it was my sister. Sometimes it was ex-girlfriend, right? I mean, it just didn't matter. Whoever that, boom, I'd call them. And I'd be like, hey, I'm doing this thing. I don't know if you're open to it, blah, 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 right? And I would prospect. And so I created psychological triggers that would change, that created processes. The reason people are successful, most people they look at, and this is from MJ DeMarco from the Millionaire Fastline, but most people, they look at wealth as either, or actually both. They look at it as luck, and they look at it as an event. They look at it as, when Mark Cuban sold his company for billions to Yahoo, he sure was lucky. And it was an event. Oh, he got that big landfall. Well, it's processes that made that happen. It was him staying up late every single night, sharing a one-bedroom apartment with a bunch of buddies, sleeping on the floor and working on code all night long till 2 a.m. that got him there. You look at someone like Felix Dennis. Felix Dennis is now worth like $900 million. He's a magazine, mogul. And in his book, How to Get Rich, he talked about how he's sitting in a chair, freezing, water is dripping, his roof has holes all over it, water dripping onto him, and he's so cold, he breaks the freaking chair he's sitting on to heat himself. You know what I mean? That's next level stuff. But he was still working his ass off every single day. So his processes were put into place to consistently help him have success. And so it's your processes that are responsible for success. Now, to get out of your head, I don't have, if you combined, orange and lavender and you burn it as incense, then everything will go away. I don't know that. I haven't mastered that. Maybe some essential oils gurus can get on here or something. But what I can tell you is I created a trigger that said if I thought about how bad my life was, I had to do some kind of profit-producing activity. And I don't know if for you that's call. I don't know if it's create content. I don't know if it's go to a networking function. I don't know what that is. But I can tell you that I would start analyzing my processes on a daily basis and start, whether you felt like it or not, start going after those processes. And one thing that Tony Robbins talks a lot about is changing your state. You can change your state through 2 ways. One, just changing your physical state and getting fired up, or asking yourself different questions. Well, you may want to recollect, and I'll just throw it out there. Has there been a time in your life, anywhere in life, maybe it's middle school, maybe it's high school, whenever, has there been a time in your life where you felt like really on it? You're like, yeah, man, I'm rocking and rolling. Have you ever felt that any time in your life?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you can, we have mind and muscle memory. We can actually tap into who we were at all of these moments. So I can tap into when a day that I was really fired up and I really brought it. Okay, I can tap into when I left my corporate job 10 years ago, and I redid the scene from Jerry Maguire as he left the firm. I can recollect the whole thing. I can see what I'm wearing. I can feel my shoulders. And I'll just tell you real quickly because it's kind of funny. So I choreographed this whole thing, and the security guard came and he goes, Mr. Higdon, we're gonna have to ask you to leave. And I'm like, oh, sure. As I walk out of the place that I helped build, sorry, it's a fact. Like I'd memorized the whole thing, right? I can tap into that person. Okay. Now the truth is, every cell in my body is different from 10 years ago. every skin cell is different. Every brain cell is different. We literally have you regenerate every few years. I forget the exact science here, but I can tap into that muscle and mind memory and instantly be courageous. I can instantly be brave. You can too. And so you can tap into, there's a time in your life where maybe it was you stepping up to the plate to hit that, home run. I don't know what it is, right? Maybe it was to ask, whatever, right? But there's some time in your life, you just confirmed it, that you felt like a rock star. You have muscle and mind memory, and you can tap into that thing, and you can become that person right away. And all of a sudden, you'll notice that your physical body changes. Your shoulders might go back. Your head might lift up a little bit. You're no longer slouched down like this. You're ready to bring it, man. You're fight or flight. And so I would do those types of things. The next time you feel that, hey, I'm not accomplishing enough. I'm not making it happen enough. Tap into that person who was making it happen, and you can step into that. And you can develop different, kind of mindset kind of practices to help you step into that more often, because it's something that you probably should do on a daily basis to help get into that groove. So that would be my series of suggestions there.
That's awesome.
You're welcome. Was that helpful to others? Did anyone else get help for that? What's up, Robert? I just noticed you're up there.
So as you're building an online following, I know that you're supposed to engage with them. And do you have a certain strategy because it seems like it would start to take a lot of time to be engaging with people to keep them following. Do you have a strategy for doing that?
Yeah. So I'm always teaching my clients and students, I'm teaching them how to be better than me. Always, 100% of the time. And, anyone that's been to like my masterminds or my coaching, I'm like, all right, we do this and this, but here's how to be better. As in the beginning, if you liked one of my pictures on Facebook, I was reaching out to you. Okay. I no longer have that granularity of communication. Now it's, I was calling every single lead. I was connecting every lead that came in. I'd search for them on Facebook. I'd try to connect with them. I'd send them a message. And as you're growing, you want to maximize the connection with anyone that comes across your way. Okay. Now, that doesn't mean you become psychotic about it, right? But you at least make an effort. So if someone becomes a lead, maybe you take their email address, you plug it into Facebook, and you search to see their account. Add them, send them a message, add them as a friend or something. Hey, saw you visited my website. What's going on? See, now they're seeing, oh, I just visited her website. Oh, Facebook. Oh, cool. So in the beginning, and I would argue that you probably never want to stop this. It just kind of has happened for us. We now get 4,000 leads a month. We now, we do 40 to 70 transactions a day on our blog. I'm not reaching out to every one of those people, or else I literally would do nothing else. Now you can create systems. You can create different, methods. Like we do different things. Like if someone buys one of our higher end programs, like $297 or higher, we send them a greeting card, and it says, "Hey, thanks. Thanks for buying it. Enjoy it. We know you're going to love it. We're appreciative of your business." It's a little thing that my support girls do, right? When we anyway, so I instead of me talking about what we do, I would be connecting and reach out to people. So if a phone number comes across your desk, you need to call it. You need to absolutely call it. And it was years before we kind of got away from that practice. At this point, we now have them go through a few different hoops before they can even get to us. So they're usually ready to join or buy or whatever by the time they get to us. I'm not saying that's how we did it in the beginning. In the beginning, when we got a phone number, I would call that thing. And my goal was to call them while they were watching my video. So I hoped when I called them, I would listen very closely. I would hope to hear my voice on a video. And that's when I knew I did a good job, because I did it so fast. And people would say, "Oh my God, I was just watching you." And there's something magical about that, because they're like, "Wow, this guy's real." you know? And, you know, we have grown to the point where we're not doing that, you know, with all the different leads we have coming in, but I would absolutely suggest it. You know, people ask us, well, what do you do, Ray? The better question is, what would you do? And that's what I would do. You know, leads you get in, people that connected you, do your best to reach out to them, but you don't chase them, beg them, or bug them.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, we have a question that has been texted in from Graciela Cortez. Graciela is at work right now, and she asks, she goes out daily to meet new people. She has no problem getting their phone number, but she feels like there's something missing because when she goes to call them, she never gets an answer, or maybe they have one contact, and after that, I think she's kind of chasing them. They're not responding. So she's trying to figure out what the disconnect is.
So, I mean, I'll give you two quick suggestions here. One, if you're seeing that as a pattern, then, well, let me give you the other suggestion first. Then I'll come back to that one. One, you could, a lot of your work is done in the invite, in the first, you know, connection. So you can always set the time at time of data collection. So if I'm meeting somebody and I'm asking them for their number, there's a lot of importance that goes on that communication that dictates how the follow-up will be. So there are a few things that you could do. One, you know, I like what one of my buddies, Chris Carroll, does, and he kind of operates like a doctor. And so when he connects with someone and gets their information, he'll say, hey, listen, you know, I'm tied up for the next 5-6 days. So I should be able to reach out to you on, you know, Saturday. Is that okay? Does that work for you? You know what I mean? So he's setting this, I'm so busy, it's going to be multiple days before I'm able to reach out to you. And then he always reaches out to him earlier and says, hey, I had an opening. I thought I would call you a little sooner, right? So that's kind of like if you're trying to get into to see a doctor and they call you and say, hey, we're actually available tomorrow, you're going to say, oh yeah, man, I'm in there, right? So he sets that very powerful, you know, expectation. That's one option. I'll tell you a word that is very, very powerful when getting the data, meaning getting the name and phone number from somebody, is I promise. So if I get someone's information, if I get their name, email, or name and phone number, I'm going to say, hey, tell you what, I promise I'll reach back out to you. Now, what does that mean? Think about it. I promise means I have something of value that you are going to want. That's very different than, hey, I'll reach back out to you. You see, that looks like I'm eager to take something from you. But when I say I promise, it's I have something good that you're going to want. It's a little different. So you can set the time of schedule up. You can either alter the expectation that you're super busy and you can call them in 5-6 days. You can use the word I promise. That's a good one to use no matter what. The other thing, and this is one that I've heard Danny Johnson teach over the years, is if you're consistently getting that people aren't answering your calls or following along with you with a follow-up, you can say, and this takes a little bit of gumption, and I like it, but you can say, and I've had people do this and it worked really well, but you can say, now, you're not just giving me your number and not planning on answering the phone, right? So when I call, I'm a very busy person. I want to make sure you want to chat. Is that correct? So you're setting what would be called kind of a semi-upfront contract. And so you're saying, hey, you're not just saying that and then I'm not going to be able to get a hold of you. You're actually I'm going to be able to get a hold of you. You're going to be at your phone number at this time. Is that correct? So you're taking what would have been a white lie that no one cared about. You're making it very, okay, this is what's going to happen. Are you agreeing with what's about to happen? And it does take a little bit of gumption, but that's one of the reasons that I like it, is most people would never go that extra route of doing that. So those would be my two suggestions for you. Either set the time or have that more stern upfront contract.
Those are really good. Those are strong, man. Good posture. So the last question of the evening, my wife says she has one, but we're going to go to my dad. My dad has actually joined us.
Oh,
and,
all right. Awesome.
He's not officially been in the mastermind, but he's been joining us for every single week on the video, and he's eating it up.
At no charge?
It's Dad. It's Dad.
I'm just kidding.
Nathan Ridgway Sr.
I'm just kidding. Nice to meet you, sir. You've done a fantastic job.
Thank you. Nice to know you too.
Yeah.
Are we ready for me to ask the question?
Let's do it.
Okay. As a veteran pastor and nearing retirement, one of the things I've learned through the years is that there are a lot of men who can deliver a great message to a church group. But one of the things that's often lacking in their development is they never learn how to make the close. It's something that takes time and study, because our desire is not just to tell people something, but to draw them closer to the Lord's table. We want to cast the net, but we want to draw the net. And in the network marketing sector, I run into a problem sometimes with not knowing how to finish up. How do you make the close? Because I've had some tell me, don't push too hard. I've been to places where they just pass out a sheet. If you want to join, here's a sheet of paper to sign. And that's really not effective. Mm-hmm. So I would appreciate anything you could offer that might help me with a right temperament, approaching people to get them to say yes when it comes time to make the close.
And you do mean about network marketing?
Pardon?
And you do mean about network marketing?
Yes,
okay.
Yes, I do. Because I'm trying to work with Nate and I'm enjoying it, but I want to do better.
Yeah, got it. Awesome. Okay. So there are really two types of people, and one is 95% and one is 5%, right? 5% of the people, and this is just my opinion, right, based on who I've met and over the years, et cetera. 5% of the people have the ability to create a vision for themselves and are kind of self-ruling. So if I look at July 15th, 2009, I'm in foreclosure, I'm dead broke, bill collector's calling me nonstop. I'm literally, every ring of the doorbell, I'm looking through my Venetian blinds to see who is it, and do they have a stack of papers ready to serve me, and if not, I don't answer. I was invited to a home meeting by my buddy Chris, and halfway through the presentation, I said, you know what, this is it. Halfway through, I walked to the back of the room, I signed up, okay? I was able to craft a vision for myself that had me becoming the number one income earner in that company, right? And we did. 95% do not have that ability. They don't have the capacity or the ability to create their own vision. So you need to help them create it. And so I'm never pushy, but I'm pulley. I mentioned earlier that you can change your state by two methods. One, change your physical state, right? If you're down in the dumps, you can literally stand up, put your shoulders back, big smile, and you literally are no longer down in the dumps. It's magic. It's amazing, right? You can always slink back down and get there, right? You can really try hard and get back to depression, but you can't from that state. You can't. I'm so depressed, right? You can't do it. The other way is to ask questions, and that's what I mean by being pulley. So I'm not pushy. I'm pulley. So I'll give you some very, very exact examples. So I was meeting with this guy. He had watched my presentation, and this was in Orlando. I don't remember exactly where, but it was in Orlando at some hotel. And afterwards, after he saw the presentation, I'm asking him, so, is this something that you're, going to rock and roll with me, or, what did you want to do? He's like, yeah, you know what? I like it, but I don't know. I'm not sure. And I say, okay, well, let me ask you this. Why did you watch the presentation? This is a great question. Why did you watch the presentation? Now notice, I don't spend a lot of time. Unlike most network marketers, I spend very little time with people who have not watched the presentation. I just don't. Now, most people, they'll spend a crazy amount of time chasing people to get them to watch the presentation. I don't. I go on to the next person, and I try to get them to watch the presentation. And then I'll spend time with those who do. Not much, but I'll spend some at least. So I asked him, let me ask you this, because I saw that he wasn't one of the 5%ers, right? So I'm going to have to help him create a vision. So I said, why did you even watch the presentation? He said, well, I need to make money. Now, the amateur would take that and say, well, you need to make money. Are you going to be able to do it without, if you don't join? And you might get some people. You might say, you know what, you're right. I don't know that I can make extra money without joining this thing. So yeah, I'll join. Making money is never the actual reason. And that sounds weird, but it's never the actual reason. There is something that's deeper. And so I asked him, I said, okay, well, everyone wants to make more money. That's not, what do you need to make more money for? What's the big deal? He's like, it's not that big a deal. When they say that, you're on the right path. You're not there yet, but you're on the right path. And so I said, well, just share with me, man. Maybe I can help you out. And he said, well, anytime you hear a sigh or a big pause, you're about to enter into truth, real truth, okay? And he said, well, I have 4 teenage daughters, and their whole lives I've worked my ass off, and he's getting watery-eyed. I'm getting watery-eyed even describing it. He's getting watery-eyed. And he says, my whole life I've worked my butt off to try to provide them the best lifestyle possible, and I want them to have their dream weddings, but there's just no way I can afford it. See, now we're emotional. Now I'm pulling him into a vision. And I said, got it. Let me ask you this. If I help show you how to make more money with this company, is this something that you would be coachable enough for me to show you how to do it? He said, absolutely. And I said, well, I'm willing to hold up my part. The rest is up to you. And he came on board. Now, was I pushy? I wasn't pushy. I'm never pushy. Pushiness leads to buyer's resistance, buyer's remorse. So you'll notice, in network marketing or any sales, people that are pushy, they tend to get a lot of refunds, okay? If you're pulley, then you just won't get it. I'll give you one more example here, exact example, and then I'll describe being pulley more. We were at a meeting, and I won't go into my company, but it does revolve around travel. And so we're at this meeting, and my recruit brings his prospect to me and says, Ray, and my guy was Bob. I don't remember the other guy, but my guy was Bob. And Bob goes, Ray, I brought Ralph here, but Ralph says he never travels. And I said, okay, just curious, Ralph, if you could travel, where would you go? And he's like, I'm just real busy. I got it. Where would you go? If you could pick any place, magic wand, you could just travel there. Well, it probably sounds stupid, but big sigh, big pause. And he says, I have this koi pond. And I'm like, okay. He's like, I got this koi pond, and these fish are from this lake, this certain lake in Africa. Man, it'd be really cool to go there. And I said, let me ask you a question, Ralph. When the hell are you going to go? That's all I asked him. And he just looked at me. He was like, you're right. And he filled out that application about breaking the pen. I painted a vision for him. Now, could he have traveled there through any other means? Of course. Could he have gone on Travelocity or any of these other things? Of course. But I was the one, unlike those marketing mediums, that painted the vision for him. And so that's what you need to do with whatever product you're in. That's what you need to do. And, you know, so if I was selling, you know, skincare, right, which I'm not, but if I was, I would be talking to, you know, probably women, right, because they tend to do more of that than men, I think. But I'd be talking to women, and at some point, I would be pulling them to previous versions of themselves. I would be pulling them to recollections of how they used to turn heads when they walked down the street. I would be pulling them to those kind of visions. I would be pulling them to how their ex-boyfriend or ex-husband will look at them when they see that they're 20 years younger. That's being pulley. So you pull people to a vision of who they can become, what they can accomplish, what they can do. And in my opinion, you are doing them a great service, because there's a lot of people walking around without a vision. And as a pastor, you know what that means, right? When there's no vision, people perish. And, you know, so you are crafting, you're doing a very, very great service by helping them see a better version of themselves, a better vision for themselves and their life. And you need to believe that what you represent can accomplish that. And this is something that, you know, when Zig Ziglar first started selling pots and pans door to door, and we actually had, it's a company now called Salad Master, but we have the pots and pans. They're amazing, but they're like ridiculously expensive, right? You have them too? Yeah, they're amazing. And, but when he started selling, step one was you had to buy them. They wouldn't allow you on the road before you bought the pots and pans. And he's like, hey, I'm struggling, man. You know, I can't afford these pots and pans. He goes, then you're going to carry that energy into every prospect's home that you go to. Very powerful. That's why people that aren't a customer or a consumer of their product are unable to sell. Because if they see it as too expensive for themselves, they can't sell it. They can't do it. And so, you know, that's why he had to purchase the pots and pans and use it. So he knew, oh, these things, wow, my frozen corn does taste better. My, you know, whatever, right? He had to know that it actually worked. So he carried that belief, and he said, and he carried the belief that he was able to afford it. So can other people. That's why it's, you know, that's why it never works out of people that want to get into network marketing and they say, you know what, let me go convince 4 of my friends, then I'll join. It never works, because if you weren't convinced to join, you're going to carry that energy with you to go to other people. The Reverend Dr. Michael Beckwith says, one of my favorite quotes of all time, I quote it all the time, probably daily: pain pushes you until a vision pulls you. The people that you're meeting are typically struggling in some way, shape, or form. They're struggling with relationships. They're struggling with finances. They're struggling with their mindset. They're struggling from, you know, something, right? There are things that they're struggling with. You paint a vision for them, it's going to pull them past those struggles and give them all new life. And that's what we have the power to do as people that are in some form of sales. So hopefully that was helpful for you.
That's awesome. That's awesome, Ray. One more question. My wife wants to ask you one. I almost nudged her out of the webinar, but she's got a question for you.
Never nudge your wife out of anything.
That's exactly right.
Hey, Ray. So congrats on the baby again.
Thank you.
So I am writing my first book ever, and I'm about to wrap it up. And so I was just going to do, you know, like write a book and then tell all my people I know about it. And Nate's showing me all these wonderful new ways to brand this book and get it to the masses. So I'm learning all these things from him. And one of the things he was trying to help me with was developing my avatar. So that freaks me out a bit because, of course, I think everybody needs to read my book. So how do you go about, because this won't be my only book. I see it coming. And I want to reach who I'm supposed to reach, who I'm called to reach. I just want to do the best I can at what I'm going after. And so did that make sense to you?
Yeah. So it's one of those things. It's one of those things that people, I think, spend probably way too long on developing it in their head, and I'd rather them develop their avatar in the field. And what I mean by that is when I started in 2009, I was coming from real estate into network marketing. So my first pieces of content were geared toward real estate people to get them to like network marketing. And at some point, from doing that content over and over and over and over, at some point I decided, you know what? I'm just going to teach network marketers. I like dealing directly with them better than trying to convince real estate people that network marketing is great. And I found my target market in my work rather than in my head. Now, there are some great resources out there. One of our speakers, actually, from Top Earner Academy is Peter Montoya. He's got a book called The Brand Called You. Great book, very detailed. I would suggest, checking that out. This is one of those conversations that, I'll be honest, I haven't mastered a fast way to help someone realize their avatar. And I'm working on it. But currently, I'm typically pointing them to additional resources. The Brand Called You is great. That's very helpful. It's an entire book about that topic, really. 2 suggestions. 1, focus on what you want, not what you think works. And this is not just for your book. This is for all marketing. A lot of times people will go to a network marketing event and they'll see, oh my God, there's a bunch of college students killing it. I got to market to college students. They may not even like college students, but they think college students works, I better market to them. And the problem with that is, unless you're just energetically fired up about what you're doing, the chances of you being consistent is so slim. It's so unlikely. And as an entrepreneur, now as an employee, people do things for 40 years that they can't stand, but it's just a better infrastructure for those without a vision, okay? When you're an entrepreneur, you really need to be energetically excited about what you're doing. And so what I'm saying there is anything works if you do it consistently. So if that's true, then why don't we go for what we want? And so I would say to you, what's the type of person you want to be around? When you throw your launch party, what type of people do you want to fill the party? When you're doing book signings, what kind of people do you want to be signing the books for? What kind of messages are in there? And these will all actually help you paint your vision too, because I don't know if you've thought about launch parties and thought about book signings and thought about being interviewed on different media channels and things of that nature. But you want to paint those things out anyway. And just seeing what is the type of person, how are they thanking you, et cetera. So that's one big suggestion for you. Number 2, know that in almost every author will say this, but books rarely make you a lot of money. And, we've had 2 best-selling books, Amazon based, and we do have another one, coming out. We got 2 in the works right now, actually. They don't make a lot of money, at least from what my experience. And I'm not J.K. Rowling, I'm not Tolkien, I'm not going to have a big movie franchise, I don't think, right? And so it's usually it adds credibility that leads to other things. So did our coaching income go up based on our books? Yes. Okay. We maybe have made a few $1,000 from books, but millions from coaching. So did the books help that? Yes. Did the books help our product sales? Yes. Did the books help us, with network marketing income? Yes. All those things. But see, all of those things aren't tied exactly to the book. So the suggestion that I'm getting to there is, 1, I would suggest building, if you want to sell the heck out of that book, build a following and have something that the notoriety of being an author can enroll people into, whether it's your own coaching, whether it's, and I don't know what kind of book is it fictional, non-fictional?
It's a devotional book. I'm trying to be able to read through the Bible in a year, and so it's a day-to-day devotional book.
Awesome. So I would, at minimum, have some kind of website with, this is minimum, I would have some kind of website with some kind of newsletter with some kind of affiliated products that are, religious based or what, spiritual based, whatever. I would at minimum have a hub that book is a spoke for to drive people to.
Right.
And that doesn't mean that you lessen the power of the book. Like if the 2 books that we put out, very, very detailed. They aren't teasers. I mean, they literally teach some heavy duty stuff. But you want to take the person that so loves your book to smithereens. They want to be closer to you, closer to the campfire, closer in your community. Give them a way to do that. And just don't look at the book as the end goal.
Right.
The book is a spoke. It's a spoke to other parts of your life and business.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Fantastic. Mr. Ray Higdon, you have been more than generous with your time tonight, and I appreciate it so much. I'm going to unmute everyone just to let them say thank you.
Awesome.
You rocked.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yes,
Thank you
thank you.
Welcome.
Appreciate your time.
It was
My
great.
pleasure. Well, you got a great mentor with Nate. Nate's been working with us for a while now, and just awesome, man. So you guys are in really, really good hands. So I'm glad that I could serve, glad that I could add some value, and hopefully you guys go out there and rock and roll.
Thank you, Ray.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, guys, hang tight with me here for just a second. We'll let Ray get back to his family there. I want to introduce you to somebody else here real quick down at the bottom of your screen. See you, buddy. Mr. Robert Minerich. Robert, give everybody a wave there.
What's going on, guys?
And you guys have seen Robert's name in the group, and you've probably wondered, who is this guy who's like in the group that gets tagged on stuff, and he's like not on our stuff, right? Robert is actually in the mentorship program with me with Ray. So he's one of Ray's clients as well, has paid a lot of money to be a part of that program, and he is a guru when it comes to online marketing and sales funnels. And when I say that, I am not demeaning all the other things that he's a master at, because I think, there are some things that he's a master at that he doesn't want to spend his time doing. So you may be hard put to have him to be a gun for hire on certain things that he's capable of. He just doesn't want to swap his time to do those things. But I want you guys to know who he is, because some of you, not all of you, but some of you are at a place where you're starting to think about, how do I drive online traffic? How do I go out, bait the hook, put out lead magnets, have people find me, and to be able to create some sort of an online funnel that they go through to like a point of sale conversion. And, I want to tell you guys, he's really good at creating that. He's a master at a tool called ClickFunnels. The funnel that you guys went through whenever I had like my, first of all, I was driving a lot of paid ads to my Facebook page. Then I did the free webinar. People came on the free webinar, went through the sales process, right, to sign up for the class. He built that entire sales funnel. He built all those pieces. He's great at it. And so I want you guys to know who Robert is. And Robert, I'll just let you take a minute and kind of say hey to everybody, all the way from the state of Oregon.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Can you hear me all right?
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Yeah, thanks so much, man. I really appreciate that. Nate's been great to work with. You guys are really, really lucky to have him as a mentor. He's a great guy, and I really love working with him. And yeah, that's kind of what I do. I do sales funnel creation, the whole marketing process, really. There's certain things that I prefer to do over others, but I know everything from, obviously the build of the whole funnel, the email follow up, the traffic, driving the paid advertising into the funnel, targeting that traffic and making sure it's relevant. We do all that kind of stuff. So if anybody's looking for anything or has any, needs in that realm, then be sure to hit me up, in the group. You can just hit me up in the group there, and I'd be happy to answer any questions or anything like that. So, but yeah, that's what I do. I'm the techie guru. I like that stuff and have a lot of fun with it. And yeah, this project's been awesome. I'm excited to continue to work with Nate and do some real fun stuff. But I am in the Mastermind program with Ray also, and so we're rocking out together, learning all sorts of fun stuff, and I love passing it on. I love passing on that value and being able to share it with everybody, and help them in their businesses as well. So it's all about making an impact. So if I can help someone else and make an impact for them so that they can go out and change some lives, that's what I'm all about. So appreciate you having me on here. It was fun to jump on. I'm not always on, because I do run my whole business and I don't always have time, but figured I'd come out and say hi and see what was up. So
I know that Robert is running at least 3 different businesses that I know of. So I don't know what he's doing that. So he's a busy guy, but he's a very capable guy, and you can tell by that smile on his face that he's also really great to work with from a personal perspective as well. So here's the deal, guys. Let me stop the recording.